Let's do it.
All right. And we're live. Sweet. So welcome to gosh, I'm on the ball today, guys. I'm on the ball. Welcome to the Fantasy Authority Game Day Show. Brought to you by thefantasyauthority.com. Merry Christmas Eve. Happy Hanukkah. Hanukkah starts today. So for all our Jewish listeners, have a very happy Hanukkah. Hopefully your 8 crazy nights go as well as you hope. We won't be on for Kwanzaa, so happy Kwanzaa starting on Monday for any of you who celebrate Kwanzaa. I think that covers all the holidays that I actually know about. If you have another holiday going on this weekend or this week, happy holidays to you as well. It is championship weekend. We've talked about it all week long on the TFA podcast. I'm sure podcasts across the world have been talking about championship weekend. All of our articles have mentioned it as well. It is here. It is Saturday, December 24th, Christmas Eve, and we have a full slate of NFL action. I can't wait to get into it, guys. But first, how you guys doing?
I'm doing well, doing very well. Just building these lineups, and I'm not really all my season-long teams, which I didn't have a ton of them this year that I really cared about. Made the championship. So one of my teams, which is probably one of the greatest teams ever constructed, knocked out in the first round. So it's just been all DFS for me.
Yeah, you've been a DFS monster of late, man.
I know that you
said.
I'm an addict, and I'm I'm like what was it, Tyrone Biggums now, and just y'all got any more DFS? I'm here, so.
Nice. No, I'm doing well, man. It's Christmas Eve. Obviously, I love DFS too, so I'm into that. But I have a championship in a league that I'm in for the first year ever. So trying to win that and maybe have some beginner's luck on my side. Ladarius Green was my tight end. So my starting tight end this week is going to be CJ Azuma. So
wow,
there you go, in the championship.
You know who I'm going
with?
No
AJ Green, no Eifert.
Oh, wow.
Who are you going with?
So in the PPR Listeners League, I'm actually going with Ryan Griffin, with Tom Savage getting the start there in Houston.
Okay.
I feel like Griffin's a money play today, man.
You not worried about Fedorowicz sharing time?
Maybe, but they're pretty neck and like it's surprising because Fedorowicz has gotten all the love in fantasy this year, but Ryan Griffin is like 50 yards behind him and only 1 touchdown. The Griffin's been having himself a decent season itself, so I'm okay. He's the backup tight end with the backup quarterback. What's that?
True enough.
Yeah,
love that correlation there.
You want a better option at tight end? That's the best you got? No Jack Doyle or Jesse James or?
Oh, those guys are available, but I like Griffin better.
No, I'm talking about Ryan. You said you're starting.
Talk about me?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Like Jesse James in Pittsburgh, I expect that game to be low scoring. I always do. And so with so many mouths to feed, it's hard to play Jesse James. And then Jack Doyle, I just can't play a dude who has 2 other guys who are right there with him. I mean, Eric Swoop got run last week, and then Dwayne Allen, you never know when that guy's going to pop off. So it's like with CJ Azuma, like we've seen him play before. He's the only dude who's like healthy in the offense right now besides Tyler Boyd, who I don't trust. So it's like I'm just hoping to get, a 5 and hopefully maybe a touchdown. He's the only guy that's available that I feel confident in seeing a lot of work.
Azuma.
I mean, you can't go wrong with Road Dog Jesse James. Every time I feel like you gotta say that. Like that's when you say his name. Like that's the way you gotta say it.
Oh, I love it.
Road Dog Jesse James.
Well, Jesse James is owned in this league, and so is Doyle. I could go Ryan Griffin and share the agony or celebration with Anthony on that play.
Oh man, just seeing that Dolphins corner Byron Maxwell's inactive today. That's tough. It's a tough pill to swallow right
Oh
there.
man.
Let's go, Xavier Howard. Time to get it done, buddy. So you guys all prepped for Christmas tomorrow?
Yes.
You ready to go? You got all your gifts done? You good? I don't know if either of you guys are hosting, but if you're bringing dessert, you got the dessert ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm definitely food wise goes, but I'm going to my girlfriend's for Christmas Eve today for the first time, seeing her dad's side of the family. So I got to go pick up some stuff to bring to that party. Can't come empty handed.
No, definitely not.
Nothing like some last minute shopping here on Christmas Eve.
I hear that.
I'll
I'm
be
going
doing.
over to my parents' house tonight, and then going over to my girlfriend's parents tomorrow. So it'll be a full weekend.
Do you guys get the guilt trip a lot from your parents? Like if you're going to your significant other's house instead, you get the old, oh, well, I'd really like to see you on Christmas Eve. Or if you're not going to Christmas Day, well, I can't believe I'm not going to see you on Christmas Day.
Not anymore, because like I have so many siblings that we're all in the same position. So it's kind of like easier where we just kind of worked it out where we're all on the same schedule. And so one year we do Thanksgiving at my parents', and then the next year, we'll do Christmas on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve. So on alternate.
Yeah, that's nice. I have 3 younger siblings, all under the age of 13. So for me, I get the guilt trip a little bit more, but it mostly comes from my sibling side, and around when they were younger. So try to make it work as best as you can. That's the thing about relationships, right? You just find that balance,
Yeah.
and then go from there.
Oh yeah. Well, my brothers are the ones killing me. I have 2 younger brothers, but they're both they're 28 and 26, but they both still live at home. So, they're always there. So then I'm the one that gets the guilt trip when I'm not there. And it's like, come on, leave me alone. This year, we're actually hosting Christmas. So yesterday was quite a hefty shopping bill at the supermarket. Much more appreciation for my parents who have been doing it all these years. I'm like, holy crap, I did not realize that hosting Christmas was going to cost so much. But we're going to do it. It's going to be fun. I still got a guilt trip, though, because I'm not going to be at my mom's tomorrow morning. I'm like, Ma, I'm hosting Christmas. Like, do you understand how much I have to do? Like,
you know what's going to happen, too? You're going to end up having to go out. You got to go back to the store today to get something. Like, you forgot something. It's the most critical thing. I need you to go now, and you're going to have to go back out there.
So, thankfully, Holly, my girlfriend, actually works in a supermarket. So if I at any point today I'm like, oh crap, I could just text her and be like, hey, before you leave, pick this up.
Well, you're lucky then.
Yeah, I do have to run out though for her because she fills my stocking every year, and like a dummy every single year I'm scrambling to find some stocking stuffers. So that's what I'll be doing as soon as we get off the show. Instead of watching my Finns versus the Bills, I got to run to the freaking Target and find some stocking stuffers. Not too happy about that. It's Christmas, so everybody, joy in the air, happiness. Yeah. Yes, Christmas weekend is championship weekend, guys. So how about we talk about some championship fantasy football? This week's matchups are all... See, this is the best time of year, right? Because the matchups are all good for the most part, because there's only 10 teams that have actually been eliminated at this point, which means there's 22 teams that are still very much in contention and need to get a win today. So a lot of great matchups going on here. We saw the Eagles beat the Giants on Thursday night, which was huge because that means the Cowboys clinch the division and clinch home field advantage in the playoffs. So congratulations to Cowboys fans. You guys have yourselves a playoff advantage, I guess. Let's see if you can take it and run with it. You will be at home for at least 2 playoff games if you make it that far. So good for you guys. I'm sure Cowboys fans are ecstatic. America's team and all that such. What did you guys think of that Thursday night game?
Terrible play by the Giants. Just, I mean, unbelievably bad from Eli Manning. What do you have? 3 interceptions?
Crazy part is we've seen this Giants offense has not been good this year, which surprises me that they had 10 wins and were in the position they were in the first place. But I don't understand why the offense isn't very good. Rashad Jennings was actually running the ball very well. They got Sterling Shepard, Victor Cruz, and Odell Beckham. I mean, is the problem Eli?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it was a divisional game, so I think you sort of take that with a grain of salt and everything else. But I think what it says more than anything is just I think in the NFL in general. I mean, I don't know outside of the Patriots, like who are the legitimate week in week out, like you just know and you feel great about them. Like I don't even know if you can say that about Dallas, because I think you can pull Coles in Dallas. Like New England feels like the only team where you're just 100% confident in that has the utmost I think has the best chance of making it to the Super Bowl. I think they have the clear road, but then with the NFC, I think you can make a case for a lot of teams. Like I'm not convinced that the Cowboys are the best team in the NFC. I think their defense is going to give them is going to be real problems for them in the playoffs. And like I've said before, I think Seattle could easily knock them off. I think Green Bay, if they make it, could easily knock them off. Atlanta, the same thing. So I think it's pretty interesting to see how everything's going to unfold here, and then once the playoffs get going in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm not as down on the Cowboys. I think they're pretty good. I mean, I don't know if they're the best in the division. That's what the playoffs are for, or in the conference. That's what the playoffs are for, right? We'll find out. We'll find out in the coming weeks who the best team is when they're representing the conference in the Super Bowl. But I know they have a big matchup this week. It'll be interesting to see how they react now to this Lions matchup on Monday night, given that they're already in. They have home field advantage kind of locked down. Like, will they be as competitive? Now, you would hope so, and you hate to say, like, maybe they'll just kind of pack it in for these last 2 weeks. But the Lions have a lot on the line here, so that game is very interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be interesting overall just to see, because I mean, I'm not as high on the Cowboys as some other people are. I'm not saying they're a bad team, but I just don't think they're as good as what some people believe them to be. And I think once they really get challenged in the playoffs by teams that have been there before, I wouldn't be surprised if they're that team that gets knocked out in the first round that they play. So,
right. Oh, man. So it's all. I think we had a question here on Twitter right this morning from Ryan Marcone. So why don't we get into this real quick? It's the only question we have so far, but I'm sure more will kind of come in as the show goes on here. So Ryan asked if he should start Robbie Anderson or Mark Ingram today in the title game. You got Robbie Anderson going against New England. You got Mark Ingram going against the Buccaneers.
I like them both, but I think I would lean towards Robbie Anderson. Robbie Anderson's the Jets' #1 wide receiver. I think this game is going to be a blowout. This is one of the biggest. The Patriots are 16.5-point favorites in this game. That's one of the biggest point spreads since I think like week 8 of 2013. I mean, 16.5 is insane. So obviously we know that the Jets, at least for what Vegas thinks, that they're going to have to be throwing the ball a ton. And Robbie Anderson's the team's only big play threat they have outside of maybe Bilal Powell. But I mean, the receivers, Brandon Marshall's banged up. I think he's just pretty much been a decoy out there. And then Quincy Enunwa, who earlier in the year kind of had a little bit of hope for, it turns out to be that he's just a little, maybe a fraud. So Robbie Anderson's the only guy who has really stepped up in that offense that's really brought anything. So, I mean, I think he's in another terrific spot this week. The Patriots struggle to stop to limit damage through the air. So I think you feel pretty good about Robbie Anderson.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I think, we saw last week Ingram get kind of heated on the sideline there after he helped the Saints get into the red zone twice, and both times they gave the touchdown carry to Tim Hightower, which maybe Mark Ingram has himself on his fantasy team, and he lost because of that, because he seemed pretty freaking heated about it.
Well, I guess that came out that he has an incentive in his contract for a certain amount of touchdowns, $100,000. So, which I get it, $100,000's $100,000, but at the same time, it's supposed to be a team, right? I mean, I don't know. I guess that's hard. That's easy for me to say sitting over here whenever there's $100,000 on the line. But I think for them, though, I think for NFL players, the money's a little different. I mean, $100,000 to them is not nearly the same as it is to us, right? I mean, to us, that's life-changing money. For them, to get that in one sum. For him, it is what it is, I mean, the guys get fined that, and it's whatever.
Yeah. Although that is still, I guess it would still be a pretty big deal. And what don't you hate when coaches do that though? Do you think coaches do that with that in mind? Like Sean Payton's on the sideline, or somebody's in his ear saying, "Hey, get Ingram out of there. We don't want to have to pay that bonus. Put Hightower in."
I mean, unless it had to do he had to do it by week 14, then I don't know why it really mattered. I mean, I don't think that would have been the mindset. I think there's still 2 more weeks. Now, I get the argument that anything could happen. He could come out this week, injure himself, and boom, there's $100,000 that he lost, which $100,000 is $100,000. Don't get me wrong, but so I guess there's the other side of it. So I get where he's coming from, but at the same time, to react the way that he did, I felt like was a little. I don't know. I honestly don't think Mark Ingram is going to be around next year for the Saints. They don't seem to have the utmost faith in him, and he's been very injury prone. So I don't think he'll be back with New Orleans next year.
That would be interesting. I think there's a lot of teams that would be very interested in his services. I tell you, there's another side of the coin too on this, though, and I think that's just the competitive nature of these guys, right? They're all extremely competitive. If you're not, you don't last very long in the league. And at first, when I saw him, I was like, man, that's a really just kind of that's a selfish move. It's a team game. You guys are winning. You're teed off on the sideline because you're not getting your touchdowns. But at the same time, if I put myself in his position, I'd probably be pretty ticked off too after I help you get all the way down the field. And then when it's time for pay dirt, you take me out of the game and are like, hey, we're going to put somebody else in to finish the drive off, just as a competitor, as somebody who likes to win and likes to be a part of the winning, they're kind of removing you from being the part of the winning if you're not letting you have your chance in the red zone.
Yeah, I see that side of it and why he probably felt the way that he felt about it. But I mean, it is what it is, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know. I thought there was a better way for him to handle it, not over on the sidelines throwing a temper tantrum about it, I guess.
Yeah. Sean Payton's reaction was hilarious. He was just kind of laughing. He's laughing and smiling. You're like, get over it, buddy. Oh, man. I'm having some deja vu here to last year. Talking about Sean Payton, actually. For some reason, is there something pops in my head that maybe Sean Payton's job is on the line? You think that's a possibility?
Oh, I don't think so. I mean, I know their season didn't turn out quite probably like they hoped, but I don't know. I think he's still one of the best coaches in the league. Their defense has been so bad. Though I will say it's been much better this year than it was last year, so I think it's improved some. But their defense still has a ways to go. So I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, if Marvin Lewis can last as long as he has, I think Sean Payton's fine, especially with that Super Bowl ring that he's got, that he can just sort of just tap on the table there in front of him,
I was like, oh, really? How many of your other coaches have one of these?
Yeah.
They have that, oh gosh, what's his name? The guy who was the coach of the Raiders for a short time there as a defensive coordinator now.
Dennis Allen?
Yes. Which I think is a pretty good hire. You got to get some talent in there. I mean, that GM's got to do a better job. Although they did this year try to inject it with some, and I think they had a lot of injuries on that side of the ball. As far as I think their rookie didn't even play. Their rookie first round pick didn't even play. So that's a tough break. Speaking of injuries, though, there is quite a few this week to talk about. Some big names, actually, to talk about. I did not hear that Lamar Miller even had an injury, probably because I don't have any shares of him, so I pay little attention. But he is actually out this week. That's something that owners are going to have a contingency plan for. Adrian Peterson is actually ruled out. Matt Forte was ruled out, but Bilal Powell has been the play there anyways. And Melvin Gordon, hopefuls, I'm sorry, but he has been ruled out as well. Mentioned before, Tom Savage is getting the start in Houston. I think that actually is an uptick for DeAndre Hopkins. Savage does a much better job of getting the ball down the field than Brock Osweiler does. It's official, AJ Green is out as well. That sucks for fantasy owners, but maybe good for fantasy owners at the same time who are contemplating, do I start this guy coming off of a big injury or do I just kind of leave him in? Other interesting news, Michael Floyd is actually active for the Patriots today, and Danny Amendola remains out. Amendola will be cut, I believe, this offseason. I'd be crazy if he's not, right? And Torrey Smith placed on IR. Tight ends, Tyler Eifert is out. We'll talk about Cincinnati Bengals and who you should start there in a minute. Jordan Reed is out as well, so Vernon Davis maybe, who knows? Ladarius Green is doubtful. I thought I saw that he was out as well, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So, injuries, guys. Let's talk contingency plans. Peterson likely was not in the cards to play this week anyway. So, Lamar Miller, contingency plan. Who can these guys fall back on if they don't have a viable option sitting on the bench?
Yeah, that's going to be rough, I think, for people because I don't want to encourage people to go out there and pick up Alfred Blue because he's terrible. But at this state in the game, there's not a lot of options that are out there. Like when I was looking at running backs who are a guy that could be interesting is Robert Turbin, maybe. We've seen him vulture touchdowns from Frank Gore before and get involved in the offense. And there, I guess, would be how much would they lean on him if the game stays close. But he's a guy that I would like to plug in there. If Chris Thompson were available too, I'd look at him as the pass catching back for the Redskins. But it's pretty bleak options there with Lamar Miller being out. I know that hurts a lot of people if they don't have anybody on their bench already.
What do you think of?
I mean, I think Alfred Blue is certainly an option. I mean, I don't like it any more than you do, but he's gonna get to work. He's better than probably anything you're gonna find out there that's gonna be available, I would think, for any competitive league anyway. Maybe Jerick McKinnon could be available when Adrian Peterson came back. Maybe an owner dropped him, so he would be worth a look. But I think that Alfred Blue is probably your best bet. He's going to get 20, probably upwards of 15 to 20 touches, if not more. And the Bengals offense is really, really banged up. So I don't think this is a game where you're going to see the Texans have to open up, the passing game or anything like that with Tom Savage. I think, they need this game just to stay in the race. So I think you could see more of a conservative mindset and especially with the Bengals not. I mean, who are they going to use? I mean, they have Jeremy Hill and Brandon LaFell, Tyler Boyd. Their tight ends out. Tyler Eifert's out. So I don't know. I feel like this is a really conservative week. So I think if you own Lamar Miller, I don't think you have any other choice besides plugging in Alfred Blue.
Well, I want to read some names for you guys who are 30% or less owned. Actually, 35% or less free agents right now in one of my Yahoo leagues, possible that they're free agents in other Yahoo leagues as well. So I'm looking at Kristen Michael, 35% owned. Oops, sorry, I left the page. Coming down here a little bit, Mike Gillislee, 24% owned against Miami. Brandon LaFell, I know he's a different position, but maybe they can work something out with the flex there. With AJ Green out, he's only 24% owned. You got Chris Thompson, if it's a PPR league, who's only 21% owned. So it seems maybe these guys could be some options. You like any of those guys better than the aforementioned Alfred Blue, though?
No, I don't know.
I don't think I do.
No, I think I always tend to go towards touches, and yeah, it's not a great spot by any means, but I think he can at the very least get you probably 50 yards and a touchdown.
Fair enough. Fair enough. South Rules is back. He says, yo, fellas, I need one in a PPR league between Tyreek Hill, Taylor Gabriel, and Terrell Pryor Jr.
Tyreek Hill. I mean, I feel like you're chasing a little bit with Tyreek Hill because of, well, I mean, the last time the Chiefs played the Broncos, he scored 3 touchdowns, and things are a little bit different now. But Taylor Gabriel's not playing nearly as much. The guy's just I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, he played 12 snaps last week, but yeah, he scored a touchdown. With Julio Jones back, I think that only further, eliminates him as an option. And then with Terrell Pryor, he's going to be not locked up with one of the best corners in the game this year in Casey Hayward. So, and if he's shadowing him, I definitely don't want nothing to do with Terrell Pryor. So I don't think you have a choice but to fire up Tyreek Hill, who he's not just a guy that can get you points through the air, but he's also as we saw last week with a 68-yard touchdown, and he can also bust off a touchdown through the special teams as well. So I think he's your best bet.
Yeah, I love Tyreek Hill this week for tomorrow on Christmas Day. He's just so involved in the offense, and he's just such a dynamic playmaker. It's hard to consider sitting him for anybody else. And then when you consider the fact that Denver attack him is through the run, like I can't see a way that they don't try and get this guy some touches in the backfield or in space somehow. Because of his ability, and we know what he did last time against Denver too. So I think you just plug him in.
Yeah, there's not an ounce of me that is worried about Tyreek Hill this week. I think he's an every week starter at this point. Taylor Gabriel has never been an every week starter this year, and Terrell Pryor, unfortunately, with RG3 at the helm, has just not done anything. RG3 and he seem not to be on the same page there. RG3 is not on anybody's page. Let's be honest. The dude has been awful. Just
except
great.
For when he gets the W this week.
It may not be because of him. Maybe it's because of Isaiah Crowell.
Maybe.
Let's not give RG3 any credit
Duke
here.
Johnson.
Duke. The Duke.
The Duke. Oh, man.
That's good. All right, so let's look at some matchups here, fellas. I kind of want to do a little kind of like would you rather sort of thing with some of these. So the first matchup I'm looking at is I took your guys' advice. I looked at the Vegas odds this week. I know you're shocked. It's okay. Highest over-under for the Vegas odds is the Raiders and Colts. I believe it was at 52 last I checked. I don't know if it changed since then. So would you rather start Amari Cooper or Michael Crabtree?
Michael Crabtree.
He might go Cooper. I like Crabtree too this week as well. I just, so they're both injured, right? I expect both of them to play. But with Cooper's injury being shoulder related and Crabtree's being finger related, I just think that the shoulder injury is going to be a big problem for Cooper today. And Crabtree but he's been so consistent all year. Like when I hate to just look at the box log scores and just go off of that. But you know, his floor I feel like is probably 5 catches and 70 yards. Whereas Cooper and his upside might not be as much as Cooper's, but I think it's just a safer play. Cooper, he's had some duds in there, and it's just hard to trust him.
Yeah, I mean Cooper has been a big disappointment this year. His numbers look far better than what he's been, at least consistency wise. He's had some really big weeks, but then he's had a ton of just clunkers. And Crabtree's been the more consistent option on a week to week basis. And I don't imagine you're choosing from both of them outside of maybe in a DFS landscape, but. If I was, it's definitely Michael Crabtree, just because I don't know how much you can trust Amari Cooper. I've been bitten more times than not with him this year, shoving him into DFS lineups, or I do own him in one league, and he just consistently just lets you down.
Yeah, and they're pretty close, though. In PPR leagues, Michael Crabtree is the wide receiver 9. Amari Cooper is the wide receiver 15. Crabtree, of course, being the beneficiary of many more touchdowns than Cooper. Cooper has more yards, but yeah. It looks like Jared Goff is going to play today against the San Francisco 49ers. So, would you rather start Kenny Britt or Jeremy Curley?
Oh, Kenny Britt.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'm not sure if Ben was on. He may say Jeremy Curley, but it's definitely Kenny Britt.
Oh man. No, I think Kenny Britt is kind of playing for an 1,000-yard season. I'm pretty sure he's not too far off. So I definitely up for this game and try and reach that plateau. Which I'm pretty sure Tavon Austin's the only one who's done it for them in quite some time.
Yeah, and I mean he's been extremely undervalued all year. He's just kind of been one of those guys that have just kind of quietly went about in his business. He doesn't have a ton of just like monster weeks for you, but he's been right there every week, giving you decent production, which is kind of what you're looking for. I mean, the wide receiver position, we've sort of talked about this a ton, but the wide receiver position has been so up and down this year. It's been a lot like the running back position was last year, just without so many of the injuries. I mean, we certainly have had some, but nothing like it wasn't like the running back position last year that we saw. But I think that it's just been kind of a wild ride for the wide receivers. And I think if you could have went all running backs in the early rounds and then took wide receivers, and I think those wide receiver 2s and 3s have been the ones that have really been carrying teams for the majority of the season. So great. It's an excellent call, especially in this matchup against the 49ers.
Yeah, both have really good matchups. I figure there may be some people out there that are kind of on the fence. Hey, which one would I go with? Trav199, welcome to the show, man. Thank you for joining us. He says Broncos defense or Texans defense.
What was the first one I heard? Texans.
Broncos or Texans?
Definitely Texans.
Is that Homer coming out or?
Oh,
I just think with how much. I mean, you have to look at. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, Cincinnati's missing everybody. So it's at Houston. So I just think it's a much better spot for the Texans than it is for the Broncos. Not that I think the Broncos are also obviously a top 10 play as well. I just like Houston more.
Yeah, no, I do too. I like the Texans a lot. I mean, the Bengals essentially have nothing to play for right now. Like this could be a really terrible performance for them. It could be really bad for them going back to Cincinnati and people calling for Marvin Lewis's job. I just think this is a huge letdown spot for them. And the Texans right now, they're rallying. They're rallying around this Tom Savage guy. And yeah, I think the defense will be just fine there in the home matchup.
Yeah, Denver's very tempting because that is the lowest, expected to be the lowest scoring game of the day, but you guys make some awesome points there. Cincinnati has nobody right now, and Houston's defense has kept them in this season. The Houston's defense is the reason they're fighting for a playoff spot right now. So I think you got to stick with Houston's defense. Trav, thank you for joining us, man. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, all that good stuff. Hopefully you get yourself a championship to celebrate with.
Speaking of Cincinnati, what are your guys' thoughts on the GOAT?
I don't like Hill this week.
Oh God!
I knew Jeremy Hill was going to come up.
Well, realistically, though, I mean, just realistically speaking, who else is going to be there? Like, I think his touchdown upside, which is he's very touchdown dependent. I think this is an excellent spot for him to see, a touchdown or two this week, this matchup. So we know, like I've said, like AJ Boye has been a stud all year. So if he's going to be lining up against Brandon LaFell, I think you kind of eliminate him. And then, I mean, who else is there? Tyler Boyd. And then, like I said, Jeremy Hill, I think, is in a really fine spot to steal some work and end up, being a guy who scores a couple touchdowns.
Well, there's Ryan's boy Azuma.
Azuma, baby.
I mean, I'd rather play Rex Burkhead than him, I think. But
killing
brutal.
me, man. You're killing my hopes and dreams here. Going for a championship. No, I mean, Hill's definitely interesting. From all facets of fantasy, because like you said, he is the only guy there. And the guy's got 20 touches in 3 straight weeks. He's gotten a touchdown in 3 straight weeks. Opponent, Philly's defense, but Pittsburgh's been having a pretty good run defense, and he got a touchdown on them as well too. So, and we had that 100-yard game against Cleveland in there. It makes perfect sense. I mean, especially if the game's staying close. Now, the only thing that worries me would be if the game, got a little bit out of hand, because I don't see Cincinnati winning this game at all. And like I just said, I think it's going to be a poor showing for them. But I mean, in that first half, he could be able to get enough up to where even if they do somehow, blow this game or get blown out, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, one thing I love for with my running backs is the touches, and I mean, he's getting them. So, if you have them, you definitely got to play them this week, because thanks for the Bengals options there on offense.
I think the counter argument, right, is, well, yeah, he's their only option, so Houston's going to put an emphasis on stopping him. To me, his ceiling is probably 50 yards and a touchdown, which has been about his average for this season. So, depending on how you've been playing all year, depending on the supporting cast, 50 yards and a touchdown might actually be good. Like, if Jeremy Hill is your flex, that's a solid flex outing for a week. It could be even a solid RB2 option there. So, Jeremy Hill, I don't think he's this all-powerful being this week just because there's nobody else there, but I do think he could put up his typical 50 and a score, which would actually be solid production in championship week.
I mean, he is the GOAT.
True.
So
yeah,
he is the GOAT.
The Films, thank you for joining us, man. He says he needs a tight end stream for this week because all the top tier tight ends are gone. I mean, I already talked about mine, so I'll mention him again, but what do you guys think? Who are your tight end streams for this week?
Well, we haven't even mentioned
Azuma.
What about Vernon Davis with no Jordan Reed?
Yeah, Vernon Davis is option to go to. My only problem here is, like, we just saw Kirk Cousins be so bad, just so bad. And with Jordan Reed out, the 2 guys who I like the most are Pierre Garçon and Jamison Crowder. I mean, Pierre Garçon was getting a ton of targets there once Reed left that game on Monday night. But yeah, I mean, if you need to plug in somebody, I think he's got to be top of the list. Just given the situation, but I don't really like him that much, to be honest. If Hunter Henry was somehow out there, I think that's a guy you could look at. You know, a lot of people are trying to make um, sense out of the Antonio Gates narrative. He only needs 3 to pass Tony Gonzalez, and a lot of people are saying he can get 2 today and break the record at home. Like, I just think that that's just way buying into, you know, narrative happening. I mean, if it happens, that's awesome, and that'd be a cool story. But the way that Hunter Henry's been used in that offense, like, you know, sometimes it seems like he's the number one over Antonio Gates. Antonio Gates just seems like he's old and he's just out there, just, you know, trying to do as much as he can. But he's definitely not, you know, the guy that he once was for the Chargers. So Hunter Henry is somebody who interests me. Um, and then, you know, Anthony, I'm sorry, but with Byron Maxwell out, Charles Clay is a guy who interests me as well too. I mean, that's kind of a way that you can attack the Dolphins defense is going across the field there. And Charles Clay's been getting uptick in usage here in the recent weeks too. So I think if there's much better options, I would hope, than Vernon Davis, maybe if you're in a 18-10 team league. What do you think, Kev?
I mean, there's a few guys that I really do like. I like C.J. Fedorowicz quite a bit. I know that Ryan Griffin's being there was somebody, you know. I mean, Fedorowicz was great last week, or not Fedorowicz, but Ryan Griffin. What do you have? 8 catches, 85 yards, something like that last week with Tom Savage. But the Bengals are terrible. I think bottom 5 in the league in terms of stopping tight ends. They just have had really giving him fits all year. So I think Fedorowicz is a fine play if he's somehow out there, which could very well be possible with coming off the injury and everything else. And he had really sort of struggled before that, but, you know, who hasn't struggled with Brock Osweiler under center? And then, like I mentioned, Vernon Davis, I think, is at least in play there as an option.
Yeah, actually, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I had actually made Vernon Davis a dud on my studs and duds this week before the news came out that Jordan Reed was hurt. So if you read that article, I no longer think that Davis is a dud this week.
Yeah, I mean,
you got to think about it. I mean, you know, were you writing him up as a dud because
I still don't like
Reed
him
being there?
I still don't like him that much because his production has been really down, and like I don't know what's going on with this guy. Like, is it in his head or something? He is good for a touchdown drop a game at this point. I don't know. He's gotten a case of the drop, so that was my looking at it was, he's been dropping the ball a ton. I'm not sure that Cousins will continue going his way. He may start looking towards his underneath receivers like a Jamison Crowder more and a Pierre Garçon more, which we did see last week when Reed went out. He went more towards Garçon than he did Davis. So that was my reasoning there.
No, I hear you. You know, another thing with the Bears is like they're pretty good, like defensively. You know, in shorted situations, the way you beat the Bears is going deep on them, as we saw last week with Jordy Nelson on that 60-yard catch to pretty much seal the game for them. Like, they can't cover deep worth the damn. So, you know, Kirk Cousins might just try and just hit Deshaun on some long bombs here. And it might not be a check down game. They're actually top 10 in defending the tight end position. So, you know, I get it. Every time somebody goes out, we look to plug in the next guy. I'm just plugging him in, especially since we've seen this Redskins team struggle here as of late.
Absolutely. I still think Hunter Henry's probably your best choice if he is available. I think he's not widely owned still, amazingly enough. And going against the Browns, Hunter Henry is your top-notch choice. I think Clay's a good one, too. I really like Ryan Griffin again this week with Tom Savage at quarterback. Maybe I'm like super reaching on that one, but I'm really, really kind of hoping for a big day out of Ryan Griffin. Switching over to the quarterback position, the films ask Stafford or Prescott. Matt Stafford, or they're going against each other. So against each other Monday night, Stafford versus the Cowboys, Prescott versus the Lions. in Dallas, by the way.
Yeah, it's Prescott for me. We talked earlier this week on the pod how I feel like the Dallas defense has definitely been better at getting pressure on the quarterbacks. And with the Lions having no run game at all, like this could just get ugly for them. Like I expect that front four to be able to get in there. I think Randy Gregory is going to be expected back, maybe not this week, but soon. I thought it was this week, which bolsters their defense from that standpoint. And Stafford's just not been a guy you can trust. He's somebody that I always write up as, a sneaky type of start in great situations. And then he goes out there and it's 250 and maybe a touchdown. We haven't seen these multi-touchdown games for him like we've seen before. And he has been able to, rack up some yards and get guys and, dump offs. But with Riddick out, Dwayne Washington's terrible. Who knows what's going to happen with Marvin Jones? It's just like not a situation that's good for them right now on offense at all. And Prescott's been great at home. Like there's nothing to show you that this Dallas offense isn't going to be able to put up, I think 24 points plus. So you got to like Dak being responsible for a little bit of that at least.
You agree, Kev?
Yeah, I think I really want to say Matt Stafford, but I feel like with the finger issue and other things like that, I just don't know. I think you got to go Dak, although that I feel like that. I think Matt Stafford could be somebody we talk about on Tuesday night about how obvious it was because they're the team that has something to play for. They don't really have much of a running game. They're going to have to continue to throw the ball. And regardless of the pressure that they're able to get, I'm just not that confident in the Dallas defense. I think they're okay. I think they're average, but they're not something that I'm like, oh, man, that Dallas defense. So I think it's close. I actually have Prescott ranked 14th and Stafford 15th. So, like I said, I could easily see where nobody seems to be on Stafford this week, and I think it could be something where it comes back to bite people in the ass. That he could easily go out. This isn't a dome and things like that. So I think this could end up being like a 300-yard, 3-touchdown performance from Stafford, and we're just kind of looking back at it and like, damn, what the hell are we thinking?
I think this is a bit of a DFS question, so you guys are going to enjoy this. What do you think about stacking Prescott, Dez, and Zeke?
Well, then if you're doing that, you're probably playing because the way the slate is constructed to get exposure to the Monday night, you're playing on one of the smaller. So, because I don't think there's not like a Saturday through Monday, is it right? It's just Sunday through Monday and then the prime time. Ryan?
No Monday because of Christmas.
Well,
so it'll be over Sunday.
Well, no, they have the prime times up now.
Detroit and Dallas are playing Monday.
Yeah, I know, but I'm talking about if you're talking about DFS, the only way you get access to it, I'm talking about the slate that's
right. My bad. There's the primetime slate there.
So just the primetime slate where you could play the Monday night. Was it Monday night, Sunday night, Saturday night?
There's a Sunday, Monday. So there's a Sunday, Monday, and then there's a primetime slate. So basically, yeah. I mean, you're talking about so go back to what was it? Stacking the
Dallas Cowboys stack.
I mean, I don't think if you're talking about in like a GPP, I don't think you're really going to be separating yourself. I think that's going to be one of the more trendy. That depends on the slate. I mean, because especially if you're just playing the prime time, then that's damn sure going to be the what everybody's going to be on, because nobody's going to be having any much exposure to the like the Kansas City game. Like most people are not going to be going with Trevor Siemian or damn sure not going with Alex Smith. So I think you're not really separating yourself there. So I probably wouldn't go with that stack. I think that's what everybody else is going to have. If it was me, I would go Trevor Siemian. The Kansas City really has struggled to stop teams through the air. They have no running game. And Trevor Siemian torched the Chiefs the last time they played him for over 300 yards. So this game is an Arrowhead, but I do think that Trevor Siemian is a comparable enough quarterback that can move the ball and has shown it that he can do it through the air. And if you're wanting to sort of separate yourself, I think the better way to go about it would be like a Broncos stack of Siemian, DT, and Emmanuel Sanders.
Well, yeah, Simeon's definitely going to be the lower owned of the two. I do think we do have to get slate conscious here. I mean, if he's playing prime time, I think the highest owned stack is going to be Roethlisberger, Bell, and Brown, the three Bs. But
that's not in on the prime time.
That's the Sunday Monday slate.
Yeah, so it depends on the slate. I mean, if that was there, then yeah, you're definitely. I 100% agree with what you're saying because that definitely makes sense. So I think it would depend on the slate, but you keep going what you're saying because I do 100% agree that stack right there would be the nuts.
Yeah, that's definitely where people are going to go. My only concern, and it's every time they're on a small slate, it just never seems like the three of those guys all hit. Like if you're playing Zeke, you want that yard so you get the bonus there plus the multiple touchdowns. And like usually when Zeke pops off, that means that they're just feeding him the ball and they're letting Prescott just sit back. So right there, that already affects your Prescott to Dez stack. And then if Dez is getting, I mean, I guess your thing would be, I expect Dallas to blow them out. And early on, Dez gets going and probably catches, a touchdown deep and maybe gets another one sometime down the line. But like Dez just he just does not excite me at all. And I think there are way better options to go this week. I definitely think Ezekiel is the play. Ezekiel, bar none. The dude's been excellent at home. Like this guy is just matchup proof. He's gonna carve it up. But with Dez, I think you might just, for that salary, you can do so much more. Probably like is Witten. If you're going to stack that, play Witten instead and save the salary because we know Detroit's terrible at defending the tight end. And they're giving up the most touchdowns to the position. Like this could be, a total Witten week. And not a lot of guys will probably be on that stack.
He just responded Ty Williams or Dez, but you got your answer there, Films. What about a Jason Witten? Skip the Dallas receiver and go with a Witten with a Zeke and Dak. I don't know what Kev thinks about that.
But see, if it was me, I think I would pivot off that and I would go something similar where the direction you're heading, and I would pivot off Dak to go to Matt Stafford and Golden Tate, and then follow that up with to get exposure to the other side, go with a Jason Witten, and then Ezekiel Elliott because. You have to have, especially the prime time. It doesn't matter. You have to have Ezekiel Elliott. It doesn't matter. It sucks, but that's the way that it is. Because I mean, he's going to be like 95% owned, and in that one, I mean, you're talking about the options there. There really is nobody else. There's I think Spencer Ware would be very interesting. He's really struggled lately, but if I remember right, he scored 2 touchdowns, I think, through the air the last time they played. They struggled to stop the running back. But, I mean, you're not playing Devontae Booker. You're not playing Justin Forsett. I guess Forsett would be like that ultimate, like, sneaky play because he's getting work and wouldn't be surprised if he overtakes Devontae Booker. But for me, like I said, like I'm always trying to think of the other direction. And I think if it was me, I would either go Trevor Siemian stack or Matt Stafford stack. Dak Prescott's not even really on my mind of somebody that I would go with because I don't think you're not really going to separate yourself from everybody else. You're going to have exactly what everybody else has, and you're not going to win.
All right, you guys get some DFS action in there. You're both probably extremely excited for that. But don't worry, it's coming. I mean, we have 3 or 4 weeks of DFS action coming in the between week 17 and the playoffs. So that should be a lot of fun. I did have a couple more would you rathers, and you could take it from a redraft or a DFS perspective, whichever you prefer. But I'm looking at the odds here, and it looks like Tampa and New Orleans is also up there with 52.5 over under. So looking at that game, would you rather play Cooks or Thomas?
Who is it? Anthony Cooks or who?
Thomas, Michael Thomas. Brandon Cooks or Michael Thomas?
Oh man, this is something I've been battling with all weekend, like all pretty much all week, doing the slate because with Breeze being at home, from any standpoint, it is like if you're going against Breeze in the championship, like good luck to you. If you're fading Breeze in DFS, good luck to you because when the guy's at home, dude puts up his monster 305 touchdown game, like you just have to have him. Um, And what sucks about the Saints receivers is like you just have to have the dude. You have to have that guy. One because there's going to be a guy who gets the 2 touchdowns. And with the way Brees spreads it around, maybe it's somebody else, or maybe it could be Ingram. It's just so hard to predict the Saints team. They're so frustrating. In redraft, I'm just playing everybody. Anybody who I have, like if I have Snead, if I have Ingram, Hightower, like all those guys are in my lineups that I have going this week, just because I want exposure to that team. But from a DFS standpoint, I'm leaning Thomas, but I really do think it's kind of hard to fade Cooks. So I do have some teams where I've stacked Breeze, Cooks, and Thomas, and just hoping to get the mega nuts there and get 80 points plus out of those guys. But I do think that if you're building a team for DFS, you have to have a Saints receiver in there of Cooks or Thomas.
Oh, man. So I think DFS. I think one, I only play GPPs. I don't play cash. So my mindset's always in a GPP.
Hey, for a second, for those of us who have no idea what you're talking about, what's the difference?
GPP is going to be your tournaments, your big tournaments, your whereas cash game is more like your 50-50s, double ups, things of that nature. So one, you're going to like GPPs, obviously, usually a massive field you're playing against, but the payouts are much bigger in a cash game. Like a double up. If you play the entry fee's $5, then if you hit that, what is it? I think usually like 50%. Get your double up. So obviously, then you make your 5 turns into 10. So it's a little much more. And in a cash game, you're playing a much more conservative lineup. To whereas in GPPs, you have to have value plays and sort of that under the radar plays, or else you're never going to win. So you have to be thinking in a different mindset to really hit in a GPP. You could certainly play your cash game lineup in a GPP. There's been plenty of weeks, especially this year, where your cash game lineup would easily do well in a GPP. But for the most part, it's always that, like when you go back and look, there's always that guy, those players that people are like, who the hell thought about playing, like, for example, like Deontay Thompson last week or somebody like that, where they're just, and you're looking for that low ownership plays in a GPP. So, I think that Brandon Cooks, I think everybody's going to be chasing what he did last week, that monster performance he had last week. And I think everybody's going to be chasing that. And that's when I don't want any part of it. So I will be playing, I've played all Michael Thomas and some Willie Snead. I think Willie Snead's also something that no one's really talking about. And I don't know why, because I think that's another way to pivot off of Brandon Cooks. And I also really like Colby Fleener, which I have not been a Fleener fan all year, but I think he's another way to get exposure to that game. And for me, like I said, I love Michael Thomas. I think people are going to be down on Michael Thomas because of how last week. And I think I still think he's the much better option on a week-to-week basis because he is the red zone target. And I think he has a much higher floor than what Brandon Cooks has. So, I mean, Brandon Cooks is the ultimate boom or bust for me. He's not going to be a guy who has 10 receptions for 90 yards and a touchdown. I mean, he's generally going to be the guy that, gets 4 receptions but has a chance for 100 yards because he can bust off a 90-yard touchdown at any moment. So, but I love Michael Thomas. I'm all over Michael Thomas. I have in a ton of lineups. I have very few with Brandon Cooks just because I felt like I had to have some exposure to Brandon Cooks, but I'm all over Michael Thomas.
Interesting.
Thanks. Sorry. I keep talking when I'm on mute here. That's not going to help anybody. So just one more would you rather before we get into predicting the games today. I definitely want to do that. I think it'll be a fun little exercise there. So how about Mark Ingram versus Doug Martin?
Damn. Oh man.
I'm hitting you guys with the tough
I
ones.
I think yeah. I mean, if I was in a season long championship this week, you're playing Mark Ingram. Uh, I don't see how you play Doug Martin when when you've been riding on the upside of Mark Ingram pretty much all season. From a DFS standpoint, the Martin makes a little bit of sense here. My only concern is that if the Saints get up big, a guy who I might want would be Sims. But yeah, Martin, I just don't see him having a good game. But it's nice to have exposure on the other side. So he could be interesting and not somebody who's going to be highly owned, I think, at all from a DFS perspective. But season long redraft, it's Mark Ingram.
I agree with exactly what you said. I like Mark Ingram far more in DFS. Doug Martin, though, I think is something that nobody's on this week. However, I mean the Saints have actually been pretty solid against running backs as well, so I sort of get it because they've done a pretty good job of bottling that up. And I think this is going to be a game where, like I said, where I feel like it could easily be a shootout. And so I don't know how well that bodes for Doug Martin, but I do think that Charles Sims is a very sneaky option, especially at DFS at DraftKings at $3,800. I think he is another excellent way to get exposure to that slate, especially very cheap. And I think we could see a ton of work for him today.
All right, so guys, let's get into some predictions on these games today. We saw Thursday night how the playoffs can be quickly affected by one outcome, so maybe we'll have some surprise outcomes here. The first game on the slate is Buffalo versus Miami. Who do you guys like in this one?
Miami.
I like Miami too, honestly.
You guys playing a lot of Matt Moore in your DFS today?
No.
But I do have some Jay.
Do you? I'm going to go with Miami as well. Yeah. Hopefully this new coaching staff will have this team ready and they won't melt down like they did last year. If you guys remember, last year we needed to win one we had two matchups, one against the Jets, one against the Bills, similar to this season. We needed to win one to get in. We lost both. Yay for us. New York Jets versus New England Patriots.
Patriots.
That's not even close yet.
Sweep for the Patriots over the Jets as well. Tennessee versus Jacksonville. I think Tennessee could be close to locking up the division if they win this one.
I really like Tennessee this week. I expect them to roll in this game.
Expecting Tennessee to roll, huh? What do you think, Kev?
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, I'll go Titans.
All right, Tennessee, 3 for Tennessee. Even with Doug Marrone and Jacksonville, I'm not sure it's going to be enough, but I think Jacksonville could make that one interesting for sure. Minnesota versus Green Bay.
Green Bay. They're done.
Green Bay.
Green Bay. San Diego at Cleveland. Oh my God, this will be the one right here. Ryan Williams, is he going to stick with his prediction?
Yeah, man. I'm sticking with Cleveland, man. I'm all in on Cleveland. It ends here. They're getting the dub.
What do you think, Kev?
I've seen the light. I'm going Cleveland.
Absolutely not. San Diego wins it easily. Cleveland's going
If you
0-16.
watch
Washington versus Chicago.
No, hold on. If you watched that game last week, it like the San Diego, especially after the game, looked so dejected, like they just didn't care. Like it was like they were playing in a stadium that seemed like a Raiders home game. I don't know, like maybe that's narrative or whatever, but I don't know. I think the Chargers have nothing to play for, and the Browns have everything to play for because they don't want to be a team that goes 0-16. I don't know. Like I legitimately believe the Browns can actually win this game today.
It would be amazing. Like it would be epic, and there would be I guess now riots because San Diego doesn't even care about the Chargers, but move them from San Diego. Cleveland's starting it.
I'm gonna stick with San Diego on that one. I know San Diego's been bad; they've been rough, but I mean, you yourself called the Cleveland defense a high school defense on Tuesday. I don't think Cleveland's gonna win one.
I did, but I don't know. I don't know. It's just one of those gut feelings, and I do think that there is a legitimate shot that the San Diego Superchargers take the L today.
I'm hopeful for the Brownies, but I don't know. I have a hard time seeing it happening. What do you guys think about Washington versus Chicago?
I like the Bears this week.
I like Washington.
The Bears and Washington. Oh man, so the tiebreaker's up to me. This one's in Chicago. I don't think there's any playoff implications for either team. I'm actually going to go Chicago. I think it'll be a tight one. It'll be a good one to watch. Atlanta versus Carolina. This one will be interesting, I think. Carolina's been playing a lot tougher than you'd expect.
I'm going Falcons.
Yeah, I like the Falcons as well, too.
I'm going to stick with Atlanta as well. Anticipated to be one of the highest scoring games of the week. We talked about it a lot on this show. Indianapolis versus Oakland. Who gets the win?
I'm gonna be completely open about this. This is complete homer, and I'm gonna go Indy.
Yeah, I like the Colts as well too.
At least Kevin was honest about his homerism this time around, right?
He was, yeah.
I'm gonna go Oakland. I think Oakland wins this one. I like them to go cruising into the playoffs here, even though they already have a playoff spot clinched here. The other game that is also supposed to be expected to be at least high scoring is Tampa Bay versus New Orleans. So Tampa Bay has playoff implications on the line. I think New Orleans is still in it technically, but they need a lot of help to get in.
You're talking about Texans, right?
No, Tampa and New Orleans.
New Orleans.
Oh. Fuck.
I'm gonna go with Tampa actually here on this one. I like Tampa.
I'm gonna go Saints.
Saints. I like Tampa to keep their playoff hopes alive. You guys like the Saints to keep their playoff hopes alive. That's a division to watch right there. We talked about it last week. Atlanta, Tampa, they're in a fight for that top seed there. And Carolina and New Orleans are both technically still in it. That's amazing. Arizona versus Seattle in Seattle.
Yeah, it is. Seattle.
Definitely Seattle.
I agree. Absolutely Seattle. San Francisco at LA.
Oh man, I like LA, honestly.
49ers Rams.
I'm gonna go Rams.
I am going Rams as well. I like Jared Goff to get himself a win this week. They've looked better than San Francisco. I don't know what that means. Cincinnati versus Houston.
Houston.
I'm gonna go Cincinnati. Why the hell not? Let's see if they can do it. Let's see if they can ruin somebody's Christmas down there in Houston. Baltimore versus Pittsburgh.
I'm going Pittsburgh.
Oh man,
Baltimore's so hard.
You want to say Pittsburgh, Kev.
Yeah, it's Pittsburgh.
I'm going Pittsburgh as well. Baltimore too hot and cold for me. Denver versus KC.
I like KC. They're at home.
I know Kev likes KC as well. I am picking KC because if the Dolphins win and the Broncos lose, we clinch a playoff spot. So here we go, Kev. Your team needs to help mine out. Detroit versus Dallas. Monday night, last game of the week.
Dallas.
You know what?
Don't do it.
Detroit.
Don't do it. Oh God.
We should have recorded all this so then we could see what our record would have been. To see who would have gotten the most right.
It is recorded on YouTube.
No, I mean we should have wrote all this down. So for the podcast, I guess you could go back and.
It's all written down right there. You see it? Look at it.
Oh man.
I'm on top of this stuff. I'm going to go Dallas as well, though. I don't think Detroit's going to take that one. I didn't actually write names, though, as to who won at what. So I'll just kind of write an initial on the people who took the they didn't agree, which is mostly me, surprisingly enough. Kev, you took Washington, right?
Yeah.
And Ryan, you were not alone in any of your arguments. You agreed. You were only in full sweep matchups there. So you got to play better next time, man.
I was supposed to be alone on the Cleveland pick, and then Kev, hopped on the bandwagon with me, so that's fine.
All right, guys, we have, what does it look like here? We have no time left. Any last words for anybody going into Christmas Eve games all day long and then Christmas week? Any last words?
Win that money.
Win that money. Good luck in your championships, guys. And yeah, in addition to that, win the money.
Win the money.
I want somebody take down that GPP.
Somebody take down the GPP. And, of course, have a happy holiday and Merry Christmas. Don't lose too much money because that's just going to ruin your holiday. But hopefully you win a bunch of money, and that makes your holiday that much better. And best of luck in your championship game. We really are rooting for all of our listeners. If you don't listen, then we're not rooting for you. We hope you lose. That'll do it, guys, for the Week 16 Game Day show. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a very happy holiday. We will see you next week for Week 17, where we will be talking daily fantasy sports the entire show. I will not be here, but these guys should be, and they will fill you in, and they will help you win some money. So have a fantastic New Year's. I'll see you in 2017. Bye, guys.
See you guys.